Hey, Dads with Daughters community. We are about to have a great interview with our friend Dedan Bruner, and we are just starting some watch parties in some other places, and then inviting Dedan in, and this will be great. So, give me just 1 second. Invite Dedan in here. Let's see. Oh, this tech stuff is fun, y'all. You're gonna get there in just 1 minute. I appreciate that there are some of y'all on already. I'm attempting to do watch parties in multiple places. Uh-huh. Oh, okay. Hmm. Hey, Deedon,
Good. How are you?
doing okay. I'm just trying to make sure that um, we've got it streaming on all the channels we want it to be on.
Okay.
I've got it on the Dads with Daughters and Dads with Sons. I'm trying to do it on two others, but I'm think. Uh, well, let's see. Technology's fun, isn't it?
Yeah. So where are you geographically?
I'm in Louisville, Kentucky. Yourself?
Okay. I almost said Pasadena. Washington, D.C.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good deal. How are things there these days?
Um, Interesting. It's incredibly hot and the government just opened back up.
Hmm.
Well, the stage one. So,
Yeah,
every day is a little different. These are kind of new times for us. So,
I bet. Yeah.
how about you guys?
Yeah, slowly but surely trying to open up here in Louisville. Breonna Taylor
Hmm.
was uh, one of the folks that was one of the individuals was killed by police recently here in Louisville, and so uh, the protests and everything, and then there was another guy that was killed in the midst of the protests. Turns out by National Guard,
Ouch.
shooting with military rounds. I mean, just
Wow.
man, just crazy stuff that just breaks your heart. And he ran a barbecue shack in West Louisville, kind of low income area, was known to just like feed people who were, homeless or drunk coming out of the club or whatever.
Mm,
So
that's tough. And my mom would kill me if I didn't tell you guys. It's Dedan.
Dedan. Oh, excuse me. I
So,
apologize. Dedan.
yep,
Okay. Not
yep.
Dedan. Dedan. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that because
Yeah, no worries. Help you, help me.
there you go. That's right. All right. We'll wait just another minute or two because we got watch parties going on Dads with Daughters, Dads with Sons, my timeline, and we're actually among the leadership team working on possibility of a YouTube channel.
Oh, cool.
We'll put these different because we got lots of good content from the author interviews and
Mm,
lots of other stuff that we want to broadcast beyond just Facebook communities. So,
sure.
some interesting conversations. So,
Great.
uh, we'll give it another minute or two. I really did enjoy your piece. It was really, really good. I, uh,
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I think we all identify with that in a lot
Yeah.
of ways. So
Right.
we'll talk about that in just make sure how we're doing here. Okay. All right. Okay, I think we're about ready. Ready to go?
Yep.
Okay. Hey, everybody out there in the Fought Them Together community on Dads with Daughters, Dads with Sons, other places. Uh, we're really glad to have you all here tonight. My name is Matt Kelly. I'm one of the co-editors of the Fathering Stories, Volume 1. And today I'm talking with one of our contributing authors, Dedan Bruner. He contributed to this wonderful book. It is available through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, anywhere else you can get ebooks. It's only $1.99. Great Father's Day gift. Just good for you as a father to see other stories, and we'll talk about that more. I know you guys are going to be inspired by the stories that they share there, the stories that we share, the conversation we have here just now. And this interview is live, so if any of you all want to go put questions into the chat, I'll be looking at that, and we'll pass those along to Dedan. So glad you're here with us tonight.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah. Well, Dedan, before we dive into your particular contribution to the book, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Single, co-parent, living in Washington, D.C. My daughter is 9 years old, and I'm a dad blogger. In 2000, I guess it's 2020, in 2019, I launched On Fathering, which was created to be a blog, but also a platform to give fathers opportunities to tell their stories.
Mm-hmm.
And had a really good response to that, and actually met two different fathers through that, um, and got together. And we recently, as in a month ago, launched a podcast called Dad Genes: Exploring the DNA of Healthy Fathering. So,
All right.
yeah,
Dad genes with G, as
yes,
in genetics, not J as in the pants.
correct.
Got it. Excellent.
So, yeah, it's been good. But now just trying to focus back on writing. The day job is I'm a mediator and I'm an attorney in DC, but
Nice.
I really just kind of enjoy doing this other work, is passion projects.
Oh, cool. Where'd you go to law school?
I went to law school and undergrad at Howard University here in DC.
Nice. I haven't gone to law school. I did mediation work and training in undergrad.
Okay, yeah.
Um, something I'm deeply interested in. Peacemaking work. I'm a clergy person myself, but peacemaking work and the role of storytelling in that has long been a great interest of mine. So we can get into that, get
No,
into those weeds a little
absolutely.
bit. Yeah, it's good stuff. So you told us a bit about yourself. So specifically on your piece, the
Okay,
ride home, what was that led you to write the story you shared in this book?
sure. So before my daughter was born, actually, I created a email address for her, and through over the years, I send her pictures and emails and videos. And that was one of the emails I sent her. I try to send stuff in real time as I'm kind of bumping my head in that case, or having breakthroughs in other cases. And then I thought it would just be a good example of how, sometimes I'm learning from you, you being her. And
Yeah.
so when the opportunity came to provide a story, I thought that was one that I could fill out a little more, give a little bit more detail, and share with other fathers.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a powerful experience. I think one a lot of us will identify with. If you haven't read the book, please get it. But this is a story about, I guess, going into dad mode, and then your daughter saying, "Hang on, Dad, I need you to listen to me," which is
Yeah.
incredibly emotionally aware for a child to be able to articulate that,
Mm.
as opposed to just "shut up" or whatever kids sometimes do.
No, no, you're
Which I
right.
was just yeah, yeah. But I mean, yeah, again, I think it's something we all can all identify with in a lot of ways. Just, I mean, our children being our best teachers, often making us looking in a mirror that we don't want to look in. So I really appreciate that about what you shared. Dedan, can you tell us both what is your favorite thing about being a father and what is the hardest thing about being a father?
Sure. You know, I guess my favorite thing would be the opportunity to look at the world through a different set of eyes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'll use DC as an example. When I got here, I was a college student, and I thought, oh, this is a great town to go to school in, but I wouldn't want to raise a kid here. And then, later in life, when I learned that I was going to be a father, um, I started looking at the town differently. All of the resources, all of the incredible museums, all the historical aspects, and was excited. And so I think being a father forces you to look at the world from a different perspective, and I've
Yeah,
enjoyed that, especially when just something as simple as mail. Mail is daunting for an adult because usually it's a bill, but for
mm,
kids, mail is wondrous. So just the opportunity
yeah,
to kind of relive some of the best parts of the world and to be optimistic about a lot of that because they're still there if you're looking for them. The hardest part is, you know, particularly as a black father, my goal
mm-hmm.
is to make sure that my daughter is prepared, you know, um, for anything that life throws at her. But the challenge
Right,
is, I also want her to be a kid, so
yeah,
there's this desire to make sure that she knows who she is, she knows her role, she knows her space, she knows the sky's the limit. But I also just want her to be able to play with her dolls. And so finding that balance and reeling myself in when I know that sometimes it might just be better to just let her be.
sure,
It's a challenge, but it's worth fighting.
yeah. I mean, as a black father raising a black child, given, I mean, just in general, things that a white person like me is not given kind of the craziness right now. How have you approached conversations with your daughter about what she might be overhearing if you're looking at the news or something?
Sure. Actually, today is a good example. We started looking at the Constitution. You know,
Mm,
the majority of she lives in DC, so she's aware of who her president is. She's aware of who her mayor is, and
mm,
world news is local news in DC in a lot of cases, and so it's hard to have a lot of these conversations without the framework. So looking at the Constitution will give us the context from where my hope is, from
mm-hmm.
where so these are what the laws say. This is what's supposed to be. So now let's have a
Right,
conversation. Are they applying to everyone equally?
right.
Um, do they need to change? Is this
Mm-hmm.
outdated? This is their take. What do you think about it?
Yeah.
I think finding the micro lessons,
Mm-hmm.
even something as explosive as the death of George Floyd, we
Yeah.
talked about her responsibility when in a group when someone else is doing wrong.
Mm,
So I don't want her to have to watch the video or to be that far ingrained in it. But we can have the conversation of,
right.
hey, it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing. What is your responsibility? Or if somebody's doing the
Hmm.
wrong thing, do you feel comfortable stepping up? And so
Hmm.
she can get the lesson without all of the gory details sometimes. So,
Yeah.
and it's again, it's all about trying to navigate the terrain. You don't always get it
Yeah.
right, but you got to try.
Yeah. That's interesting because for me, as a white father, lives in a fairly nice area, privileged person, but trying to have those similar conversations about, you know, here's what's going on, here's how you're going to be treated, what will you do when you're, and we're fortunate our kids have friends of different ethnicities, but nice areas like we do. But when that does happen, fairly fairly well-to-do area of Nashville, and I had friends of different ethnicities. But when we got pulled over by the cops, if they were driving or if I was driving, it was a different story.
Sure.
And trying to say to them, well, how is it that you react without going into white savior mode? Time speaking up and going, whoa, not a and now that terrain. Um, we could probably talk about this for a while because
Yeah,
of
no, it's a
a lot of similarities, a lot of differences. Um, but okay, so let's that's yeah stuff. So think about the father and together community specifically. Um, Obviously, with your try to give a voice to dads and to share stories, and that's a common value um, with father and together as well. What's been your experience of being part of that community and some of the benefits, some of the ways that it maybe has enhanced your own work?
no, sure. And it's actually a continuation of what you were saying before.
Mm,
This is an opportunity to have this conversation with fathers who have different perspectives. You know, I'll be frank, I don't have a lot of white friends. I went to a HBCU. I went to an HBCU for law school, and that's where we typically make our lifelong friends. Um,
yeah,
and so this gives me an opportunity to have conversations with race, with other fathers who care just as much about their kids, who want to get it right. And so I'm appreciative of the opportunity to have tough conversations from a perspective of, hey, this is what I know. There's a lot that I don't know. And I'm not aware of any of your perspective. So let's unpack this together. And I think
mhm,
my experience with the conversations thus far has been positive. I'm looking forward to more.
great. So what do you think your own background as an attorney and a mediator, and mediation is about very focused storytelling.
Sure.
What how do you think that has enhanced kind of your ability to be part of fathering together or the other work that you do with dads? How has that been merged in some way with your professional life?
Sure. Um, I really appreciate the challenge of a mediator to find that space where where we're on a on common ground so that we can build from
Hmm.
that. And I think when we talk about creating platforms for fathers to tell their stories, um,
Hmm.
that is what mediators do. People who feel unheard,
Yeah.
people who may not have had a voice, maybe people whose voice has been drowned out. Um,
Hmm.
it gives them a seat at the table. And so I value that skill and that opportunity to
Yeah.
be able to give fathers and stories that may not have been heard, or conversations that may not have been heard, or that people may not think are even being had, to give them an opportunity to get out into the world. I love it.
That's great. Can you think of an anecdote, and without divulging people's personal information, about either
Sure.
realm or the mediation realm or something where you felt like you've really succeeded in creating that level for people to share those things that they may have been unheard before? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but I'm just curious.
No, no, no. It was actually my experience in a mediation that made me create On Fathering.
Oh,
Um,
really?
I had a situation where, so um, I do family mediations and
Hmm.
sometimes child protection mediations, and they can be really contentious. And so we had a mediation where a father asked to be heard, and the message communicated was, I don't hold this mother. I don't, I'm not here to blame her. My goal is to figure out how to be a better father. And what I'm asking you, to the people around the table, and this includes like a prosecutor, a social worker, guardian ad litem, like a whole room full of people. He said, I'm just asking you
Hmm.
for the skills and for the tools to be a better father.
Hmm.
His concern was the classes you put me in are focused on convincing me to be a father. I don't need to be convinced. I just need the
Hmm.
tools. And
Interesting.
I sat there as the mediator, as a neutral to the conversation, but just thinking, there's got to be something out there, and just the idea of creating platforms for different fathers to share their stories so that, dads on this side of town or this side of the world can know that, hey, there's somebody over here who's had the same experience, or your story has impacted someone else.
Hmm.
And so it was that experience that made me want to create it. And since creating it, um, I've received messages from dads from all over just saying, hey, I really appreciate hearing the story about such and such, because you know, I'm going through the same thing, be it the military dad who would pack books in his bag so that he could read to his kids while he was out of the country,
Yeah.
or, um, another dad who, his child had autism, but his challenges of rising to that occasion. And so, some of those things, regardless of race, regardless of age or how we came to fatherhood, just kind of speak to the
Hmm.
experience in general. And it's really rewarding when that connection is made.
Okay. This is kind of an off-script question, but
Sure.
you having had experience as a mediator with the whole kind of the child protective system in lots of ways. I've had a lot of experience with that as a foster parent.
Sure.
Well, um, it's been my experience, and maybe yours too. Sometimes there's a lot of what's the word? Sort of a lower view of men in general.
Yeah.
Like the guy you're talking about saying, you don't have to convince me to want to be a father.
Right.
Help me, give me the tools. Whereas it is what I experienced with the way the social system treat a lot of guys whose kids were in foster care was very, I mean, very looked down on them, and a lot of them had a similar type of desire to say, I want my kid back, man. You don't have to convince me of that. Maybe you can say more from your perspective as an attorney there, a mediator.
You know, the goal is for the system to treat both parents as equals, but
Right.
I, I think we know that's just often a missed mark. Um,
Right.
and for a lot of dads, it's an uphill battle, and
Very.
it's tough. I can say how I treat dads when they come in the room, but
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes, time they may have had 4 or 5 interactions with judges and attorneys, and have never felt heard. So
Mm-hmm.
I I take my role as a mediator very seriously because I recognize that, one, I may be the first black mediator that they may have had,
Mm-hmm.
because black men aren't well represented in that space. But also, I may be the first person who they believe is impartial, right? Other people may or may not have been,
Yes.
and so I take that impartiality very, very seriously, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
mind slowing down the process to make sure that every step is understood. They know what their rights are. That, hey, I'm sure your attorney might have explained this to you, but do you have any questions? And so just to kind of make
Yeah.
sure that, no matter what the caseload is, no matter what the docket says, let's just make sure that the people who are here are feeling heard. And I know, as a
Yeah.
mediator, that
Mm-hmm.
if the parties don't feel empowered, the conversation is kind of doomed. And so,
Yeah.
giving people the tools to be their best when they're at the mediation is important as well.
Well, as a pastor, I experienced that as a much less formal mediator, but at the same time trying to be that impartial party. And I can just think back of a handful of fathers of foster kids. I wish it had an attorney or a mediator like you who they really believe was impartial,
Yeah.
because the system is set up to be so adversarial. And I remember getting into a little bit of a tiff with a public defender
Hmm.
who I thought was being a dismissive jerk to one guy. It's like, you're supposed to be his ex. Don't blow this man off. And we both got a little more heated than we probably sent home. Like, how am I the only guy? And yeah, he screwed up. Kids in my house screwed up.
Right.
But yeah, oh man, gosh, I wish there were more folks like you doing this work. So good for you.
No, it's tough. I've had to empty a room and just have words with an attorney, um,
Sure.
just to
Yeah.
kind of make sure that we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
They may have 50 clients, and I feel for them in their caseload,
Right.
but this might be that person's only child, or even if it's one of 10 children, they still deserve to feel like during this period of time, you're where their focus is.
Yes.
Um, and everybody's trying, but sometimes
Mm-hmm.
we can all use a recalibration.
Absolutely. Oh, I've needed that more time. Count someone to go, hey, slow down.
Yeah, hey, listen, that's what my whole story
Um,
was about.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Good way to bring it back around. Okay. So I'm scrolling through the different pages of podcasting on right now, seeing if we have comments or
Sure.
questions. And folks, feel free to throw in any comments or questions that you have right now for Dedan. I will give you all just a minute to do that. Dedan, is there anything else you want to shout? Your either story wrote or the dad genes with a G community that you curate or anything like that?
Sure. Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about dad jeans because that's been a really
Yeah.
interesting experience. When I started on fathering, I wanted to create platforms for other people's stories. I did not see myself as in the forefront or actually wanting to talk at all. Um,
Mm,
but creating a podcast where just me and two other dads are just talking about fathering and not just fathering but what it means to be healthy from our perspective as we explore. Nope, I missed it here, or you know what, I hit the nail on that one. Has really been responded well to, but it's tough because even knowing that this is our goal, and I'll give you an example. We tried to do an episode on failure and we failed. Like
mm.
we weren't able at that point in time to be honest enough with ourselves, even in our own podcast, to talk
Yeah.
about our failures. Because, as men, and I'm going to generalize, we can talk about sports where we missed the play, or got cut from the team but came back stronger. Or we may even talk about a failure professionally
Mm,
after we've rebounded. But fatherhood is something that for so many of us is so much more closely held that we tend not to be
mm.
willing to talk about those times when we got it wrong. And
Yeah.
but that's exactly what other fathers need to hear about. I never learned how to swaddle my daughter, and I feel bad every time I go in her room and she's 9 and she's kicked all the covers off because I think, yeah, that's my fault. I was never able to get it when you were a kid. But
Wow.
but everybody has a story, and the kicker is most of the things that we're good at fatherhood wise are something that we started out terrible at, but we just stuck to it, you know.
Yeah.
And so the notion of we have to be excellent at being a father, you have to give that perfect advice, or you
Yes.
have to mostly you just have to be present and willing
Yeah.
to call an audible and recalibrate and keep trying. And so I think that really resonates with the
Hmm.
people who've listened to us. And
Yeah.
I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah. Ward Cleaver and Mike Brady do not exist in
Nah, sir.
at all,
Nope.
or Carl Winslow, or um, so I will give a quick plug to one of the Father Together community members, Tim Cox. He's starting a podcast called the Imperfect Dad
Nice.
Cast,
Okay.
where his entire purpose is to try to do that very thing.
That's awesome.
And it's a daunting task
Yeah.
for sure. But I'm looking forward to seeing what he produces, and I hope that can be looped into mutual conversations there.
Yeah. No, I'd
Well,
love to.
yeah. So unfortunately, I'm not seeing any active questions or anything right now. Other people
Okay.
who view this later on may have that. So, Dedan, before we wrap up and let you go tonight, will you've already talked about it a bit. Will you share website, social media handles, anything else like that?
Sure. On Instagram, I am Just Dids, JUSTDIDDS,
Hmm.
and Dad Jeans Podcast on Facebook and Instagram, on
Hmm.
Fathering on Facebook and Instagram, and onfathering.com.
All
And
right.
yeah, check us out. Shoot me
Cool.
feedback. I love to interact.
All right. Well, we'll put links to all those things in the comments on these watch parties uh, in a little bit, so folks that maybe do this later on can access those things. Well, Dedan, thank you so much for your time today, for being with us tonight, for your amazing of Fathering Stories Volume One, and for all those that watched tonight. Thank you for being here. Again, y'all can purchase this book, Fathering Stories Volume One, through Amazon, Barnes and Noble, anywhere else you can, for a great Father's Day gift for yourself or for others around you. For those of you that get it, we'd love for you to go write a review so that other fathers can know about this collection of stories as well. So happy Father's Day to all of y'all. Dedan, thank you again for being here with us tonight.
Thank
Uh,
you. It's
and
been a great time.
yeah, I look forward to talking to you again and further conversations. I think interesting thing tonight.
Absolutely.
Thank you, my friend. Have a great night.
All right. Take care and be safe.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye bye.